MicroTeaching, Chapter 6, Words and Meaning, by Caitlin, Jackie, and Shanna. Research about vocabulary development in a second language. Native English speakers acquire about 1,000 words in their vocabulary per year and should enter kindergarten with about 5,000 words. When they graduate high school, they should know about 18,000 words. You can just imagine the added pressure that is placed on an English language learner. They need to increase their vocabulary at a much faster pace than a native English learner. We as teachers need to look at what we know when we know a word. Do we know it receptively? Do we know it productively? And do we know its forms, uses, and meanings? In this chart, we can see what it means to know a word receptively, productively, and in its forms, uses, and meanings. There are 4 language domains: speaking, writing, listening, and reading. To know a word productively, you need to be able to use the word correctly when you are speaking and when you are writing. To know a word receptively, you need to be able to recognize and understand the word when you hear it and when you read it. To be able to become fluent in all 4 domains, you need to understand that meaning is what helps you recognize or convey the meaning of the word. The forms are what the word sounds like, looks like, and how it is spelled, and finally, its uses of the word in context. For example, consider a rather common word like catch. Let's play catch, and that fella's a great catch, are both used in noun form. Alexander didn't catch a single fish today, and I don't want to catch your child are both used in verb form. Knowing catch as a noun, you need to know to add es to make it plural. What article is used? A, an, or the? Knowing catch as a verb, you need to know the various verb tenses. Catch has an irregular past tense of caught. Knowing catch in derivatives like catch as, catch can, and catchphrase. In the 1999 Encarta World English Dictionary, the word catch took up all 3 columns with 30 meanings as a verb, 10 meanings as a noun, and 24 derivative phrases and idiomatic expressions. High-frequency words are the words most often used in the English language, and therefore important for students to know. There are a couple of lists that can help us. The first list is the Dolce list. This list features function words, which are words that serve to show relationship among other words within a sentence, and content words, which consist of nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. This list is the most common 220 words in reading material and represents about 50 to 60% of words students will see. Some examples from this list are the words the, to, and, he, you, was, and said. The next list is the first 2,000 words list. Unlike the Dolce list, which is based on children's books, these lists are based on materials for older learners and adults. This list contains the 2,000 words that students will need to know. Some examples from this list are action, award, background, bridge, candidate, central, change, complete, daughter, and decision. The last list is content area words or academic content words. These words occur less frequently but are crucial for learning science, math, history, and literature, and etc. If you use Google and type in your area, you can get the content area dictionary. For example, search science dictionary, social science dictionary, mathematics dictionary, and so forth. Some examples of these words are metaphor, angle, ecology, ratio, simile, integer, false positives, experiment, theorem, capitalism, magical realism, and anaphoric reference. Guidelines for teaching new words. Remember, learning a word is a gradual process. 1. Relate the new word to the known by tapping into the student's prior knowledge, including primary language equivalents of the new word and its meaning. 2. Offer repetitions of the new word in meaningful context, highlighting it with verbal emphasis, underlining it, or pointing to it on a word wall. 3. Provide opportunities for deeper processing of word meanings through demonstrations, direct experience, concrete examples, and application to real life. 4. Engage students in using newly learned words as they explain concepts and ideas in writing and speaking. And 5. Provide explicit instruction on strategies for students to use independently for understanding and using new words. There are two sources to learning a word. You can learn the word incidentally or explicitly. Both ways develop word consciousness. Incidental learning is exposure and use in communicative contexts like social interaction, academic instruction, independent reading, guided reading, writing for an audience, and fluency activities. Explicit learning can happen two different ways. One way for explicit learning is the source of the new words through high-frequency words, content area terms, and low-frequency words as needed. The other way for explicit learning is through strategies to understand, remember, and use new words, like word analysis and using prefixes, suffixes, and roots. Learning from context and using dictionaries. There's a dynamic relationship among all elements. The balanced approach is addressing vocabulary in and out of natural communication context. This chart shows key elements of successful vocabulary programs. There are 4 key elements. One key element is pre-assessment and reassessment, which are both done informally and formally as an ongoing assessment. Another key element is reading a wide variety of fiction and nonfiction books that are both teacher-selected and student-selected. Another key element is words that are taught explicitly, like high-frequency words and other selected words. The final key element is strategies for learning new words, like using prefixes, suffixes, dictionaries, etc. Differentiate vocabulary assessment and instruction. There are 4 things you need to consider. One is the age and grade of the student. Another is the English language proficiency. Assess new students to the English language with Dolce words or the first 500 lists. Assess intermediate English learners with the words from the first 2,000 lists. You also need to know if the students can decode or if pictures and actions are needed. Always instruct with oral and written forms of a word. You also need to consider the primary language proficiency. Spanish and English both use the Roman alphabet with consonants. Chinese does not. This can make decoding easier and harder. Some languages also have cognates. There are friendly cognates like telephone in English and telefono in Spanish. There are also false cognates like embarrassed in English and embarazado means pregnant in Spanish. You also need to consider the student's educational experiences. How much schooling have they had and where? And also, some countries teach English in their schools. Was the student in one of those schools or not? Let's take a quick glance at dictionaries. There are 3 types of dictionaries. One is the picture dictionary. It's most commonly found in elementary schools and contain colorful illustrations of high interest and high frequency words. There are also sophisticated picture dictionaries for older, intermediate, advanced, and fluent English speakers, which contain color illustrations and diagrams in 14 areas such as the universe, prehistoric, earth, physics and chemistry, visual arts, music, and sports. Another dictionary is the bilingual dictionary. These dictionaries are for students who are proficient in their primary language. They can look up a word in either English or their primary language and find its equivalent in the other language. The last dictionary is the monolingual or language learner dictionary. These dictionaries present all definitions in English only. There are a few strategies that can be used to teach beginning level vocabulary. One is the total physical response, or TPR strategy. It's an approach to language teaching which pairs actions with words to convey meaning. The actions demonstrate the word meaning, students show comprehension by responding, and speaking is not required, but eventually the student may be able to. Some examples are stand up, sit down, wave goodbye, put your book on the table, and games like Simon Says could be a good way to practice some of these. Another strategy are read aloud. It's important to read aloud to all students at all grade levels, K through 12. Reading a variety of genres provides familiarity with the sounds and cadences of the English language. Read alouds also introduce students to the organization and flow of written language. Here are some more beginning-level vocabulary strategies. Word cards are cards that students create on their own with the English word on one side and a picture, definition, or translation on the other side. Students can use these cards to review individually or with a partner to increase the knowledge of the word. Games like word sort, or grouping the words by meaning, grammatical category, or alphabetically can make it more interesting and challenging. Another strategy is a word wall dictionary. Words from current themes, stories being read, or other topics that you're teaching are placed up on the wall. A short definition or picture may be placed next to the word. A daily review of these words can provide students with a repetitive practice with these words, assuring that these words become a part of the student's active vocabulary. And working with idioms. Discussing the idioms as they come up in reading materials, instructions, or conversations. Idioms can be most difficult for ELLs because they are not literal, but figurative. Exposing students to idioms gives them the opportunity to recognize them on their own. The website here has a list of many idioms. You can use this to create a classroom idiom dictionary or play games with the idioms. There are several strategies that can be used for intermediate level learners. Here we have a word wheel. You start with a word in the center and have the students think of synonyms or antonyms to fill the spaces around the outside of the wheel. In this example, we start with the word said. There are several synonyms for this word. Some of them are stated, replied, whispered, exclaimed, answered, yelled, shouted, and declared. The other wheel is a verb wheel. It is a wheel that has a rotating flap that allows students to study each word separately. Verb wheels are used for irregular verbs so the student can become familiar with the past, present, and future participles of the word. In this example, we use the word sing. The present participle is sing. The past is sung or has sung, and the future is will sing. Here are some more intermediate level vocabulary strategies. One is the vocabulary self-collection. The students all select one word they consider important in an assigned reading to create a vocabulary list. The teacher also adds words. As a class, they define and discuss the words. The words then can be eliminated if the students already know what the word is. This can create a study list. Another strategy is Word Wizard. This is where the students take a new word learned from the classroom and take notes on how the word is used outside of the classroom, such as in conversations, television, radio, magazines, or newspapers. The students then report their findings to the class the next day. You also have contextual redefinition. The student uses the context clues and background knowledge to define an unknown word during reading. Another strategy is vocabulary journals. This is an extension of word cards. The vocabulary journal contains new words, its definition, a sentence using the word, and any other helpful hints. This journal can become a personal dictionary too. The last strategy is teaching prefixes and suffixes, also known as affixes. Suffixes for regular verbs are important, such as ed and ing. Just like teaching high-frequency words, there are high-frequency prefixes, such as in or in, meaning not. Others are like this or end. Assessing vocabulary progress. You can assess both informally and formally. In informal assessments, you can observe and take notes. You can also check personal dictionaries or journals, note and discuss strengths and needs. And you can also engage students in a discussion of word meanings during a lesson. You can compare and contrast two words or classify a list of words. In formal assessments, you can use traditional tests using multiple choice and matching items. You can also assess the use of words written in an essay or a short answer. This chart can provide you with a guideline of what strategies could possibly be used in your classroom based on what grade level you teach. All strategies can be used through 12th grade or even beyond. Formal assessment usually starts around 4th grade, but informal assessment you can start in kindergarten. Context clues are better started in around 4th to 5th grade. Dictionary use is best around 3rd to 4th grade. Idioms can be started in 2nd grade. The language wheel is best in 4th to 5th grade. Picture dictionaries can be started in kindergarten. Prefixes and suffixes can be started around 4th grade. Read alouds and CPR, or total physical response, can both be started in kindergarten. Vocabulary journals can be started in 2nd grade. Vocabulary self-selection started around 4th to 5th grade. Word cards are also started around 4th to 5th grade. Word walls and word wheels can be started around kindergarten. And the word wizard is probably best around 2nd grade. Now we get to our micro-teaching lesson, which was taught by Caitlin. Our micro-teaching lesson was about President's Day. In this lesson, the students were given vocabulary that related to President's Day. The students then took these words to create their own vocabulary booklet that would also double as a picture dictionary. The students were also to be active during the lesson and use the total physical response strategy. The teacher models this strategy throughout the lesson. These strategies will be helpful with vocabulary building during any lesson when a teacher needs extra reinforcement.